enough. Yeah, not bad, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate.
What can I do for you today, but
I get a medium-high skin flute, please. Just a little bit of length off the top.
okay.
Then just tighten it up a little bit. You know what you're doing. How have you been recently?
Yeah, good, cheers, man.
Yeah?
Just, yeah, the usual. 130 of the week, so.
Oh yeah? Any big plans for that? Or did you get up to anything?
Just went out. Had a few beers. Few tonight.
Nothing, keep it nice and simple if you can, eh? So you get quite a few people coming, kind of opening up to you about kind of different experiences, issues, problems, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. I think just the act of physically touching someone and having that sort of vulnerability in a barber's chair kind of leads to being a bit more open and letting your guard down a little bit to have those conversations.
Yeah.
For sure.
I guess that kind of goes both ways, isn't it? Between kind of barber and customer, as you will. I guess that's quite similar to kind of myself in a way with rugby as well, and university. Obviously you move you away from kind of home, coming, trying to build a client base, carry on what you've started in your career as a barber into a new city, and kind of myself obviously moving away. So I'm from Scotland originally, obviously moving down south, new university, new city, kind of using rugby as that kind of tool to meet people, to get involved with the community, the rest of the guys. It's kind of been a good way for me to kind of, as you say, kind of merge into the community, as you will. And I guess what you're saying there is kind of quite similar, isn't it, with the barber community, I bet, and this job specifically.
Yeah. I think it's finding your group, your sort of crowd, your place. So yeah, that's definitely something that has happened. I mean, I'd say moving from Derby originally, it was a lot of, okay, I don't know anyone here, get to know people, and then sort of build on that. But then COVID happened.
Yeah. Was that a tough time for you or in your career as well? Or I guess it was for everybody, wasn't it?
Yeah, COVID was interesting because you went from being in a job where I saw 10 to 15 people every day, to not seeing anyone for a week other than the people who worked at the supermarket when I'm going to get food.
Yeah, of course. You kind of cherish those small interactions in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
You said that kind of alone time. Did you kind of feel a bit isolated at all? Was that kind of, with that uncertainty, of course, and obviously being at home without those small but crucial interactions?
Yeah, I think very much so. Where I felt human contact wise very isolated, and then it was in the countryside as well, so it's kind of, you didn't really have many neighbours that you'd see, and everyone was inside anyway. So that for sure felt that way. I found myself talking to barbers on Instagram who I'd followed and who were, successful, got their own shops, or some have channels and stuff, and ended up building quite a good relationship with them.
Yeah. So you kind of turned to your own kind, if you will.
Yeah. I think we were all kind of, in a way, kind of grieving that we'd lost that outlet and that part of our identity.
Absolutely.
I think that can be one of those things where, speaking of isolation, you start to look at your own identity as a person rather than, because I think this job is quite a performative job, and you kind of bounce off the interaction with the other person. So I tend to quite like talking during a haircut. Sometimes people don't want to talk, so you just let them have their moment, but people do like to have a chat and talk about what they're getting up to and what's bothering them. Or
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just quite interesting, as you say, the kind of people kind of finding, or in that kind of time losing their identity as well. Such as, so like, for example, I couldn't, as a rugby player, when all the sports weren't allowed, it was quite tough not being able to play the sport that you love, similar to yourself, not doing your profession. And obviously, you played a game with 14 other guys, 22 other guys, so you're kind of lacking that, missing that training environment, even the social environment. Even a lot of the boys, I guess, you're close with outside of rugby as well, so you lost that bit as well. You quite similar to yourself, kind of before coming down to university, reaching out to guys who might have had a similar experience to you, or were also planning on going to the university, or had also played rugby and kind of lost that part of themselves. You kind of identify with and kind of grow a natural closer bond to. So yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from in terms of that regard. It was, and as you say, it's quite a bizarre time to look back on now.
How did you adapt to having where you were with a big group of lads to maybe then only communicating through WhatsApp or messages or phone calls?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it was tough. It kind of seemed a little bit not real, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, kind of just only having that kind of online interaction. And as I imagine you can remember the times, a lot of video calls. So I remember training back up north in Scotland. It was kind of, you were doing kind of workouts over video call, and you had 20 different guys in different small tiny boxes on a screen just doing burpees or press-ups or sit-ups. It was quite tough to kind of have that, as you say, when you're used to being in a gym, music blaring. And so kind of, as I say, having to adapt and kind of waiting, at the end of the day, kind of waiting it out until, well, at the time we didn't know if it was going to blow over and how quickly it was going to blow over. And then kind of coming down to uni and being involved with the guys and coaching staff and having the great facilities. It's kind of, you kind of look back at it now and actually kind of cherish it a bit more, and kind of you understand and appreciate what you have a little bit more, because you know it can be taken away from you with a snap of fingers.
I think that's like a very key point. It's like you don't know what you've got till it's gone, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you find that you changed as a person from that sort of time alone? Did you become more self-aware or anything through that time?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you kind of naturally do. I think you have to become a bit more independent. I mean, I like to think of myself as quite independent already. So, for example, my family, I'm half Italian. Obviously, I'm now down in Nottingham, but I'm from Scotland, half Italian, and the other half of my family lives in Canada. So, I know what you mean. You kind of have that kind of independent personality, just because we do have a big family, but if I don't see certain members of my family for 2-3 years, or a couple months at a time, or even just sitting around a table having a dinner, you kind of do have to kind of cherish those moments. Because, I mean, for example, when I came down to university a couple of years ago, obviously came down for pre-season with the guys in the club, which we've just finished now, kind of pre-season, ready to go on term time. And when I left home to come down to university in first year, I moved house from Edinburgh, where I used to live, over to Glasgow. Now, it's obviously not that big of a trip, but it kind of has that effect that the first time I went home was, it's December time, Christmas time in first year, compared to where I was before. It was quite kind of tough to adapt, because the home didn't really feel like home. Moved into a brand new house, different side of the country, you know, a bit of away from my mates, and kind of just be making all these brand new mates down at uni. It was kind of a tough, kind of weird in-between bit, where going home didn't feel like home, whereas university came a bit more like home, if that makes sense. So, and it's even funnier because I'm further away from family, but it kind of builds that independent side of you. But I do think kind of those times in the past have definitely prepared me and kind of allowed me to adapt a lot quicker and easier to that situation. And I imagine yourself, you have pretty similar kind of outlook and kind of experience with that.
I think it's it is very much similar, like moving from just Derby to Nottingham. It's only down the road realistically, but everyone I know lived there, and then to no one living here, it was kind of like, I don't know if that helped me engage with like clients initially because we become like friends with them, or
Was it tough to kind of motivate yourself to stay in Nottingham just because of the close proximity of Derby, obviously? Did you ever feel like, okay, this isn't working, home's 10-15 minutes away, I can just, kind of ultimately move back home and kind of not give up, but was it hard to motivate yourself to do that and stay and kind of...
I don't think failure was ever an option. I never really thought of it like that.
Really?
You just said that, to be honest. It never really was in my mind about like calling it quits. Like I was just gonna do this one way or another. I think when I put my mind to something, I kind of...
Is that something that you've kind of...
belong to it.
Is that something, that kind of mindset, something you've kind of acquired from growing up, certain circumstances, or just kind of that kind of pretty definitive of you as a person, just kind of quite driven, quite self-motivated?
Yeah, I think probably be a bit more introspective than I have about it. Yeah, I think I'll just get... It was not really a complete thought process, I guess. It was just, this is going to work, how can we make it work when we get back? Like, there's going to be everyone wanting haircuts, but I guess that bit before COVID, that year, it was always just like how to succeed rather than thinking about failure. So yeah, I think that was just the mentality. It's like, how do we make this work? Thinking ways around to build a client base, how to generate like good reviews and integrate with like the city so that I could build up more of a client base.
Very interesting.
How's that for you, buddy?
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, awesome. Cheers to that, man.
That works. Nice one.